Hello there. Welcome to the KMS wrap-up show. I'm joined today by Andrew Augustus, who's becoming quite the regular here on the wrap-up program. Today's show, Minifans across America, August 9th, 2022. Kirk tweets out this morning, big news. He kind of teased it yesterday that there was going to be he has an idea for a big Minahan show collaboration. I know we talked about it yesterday here on the wrap up of what it could have been. I thought it might have been like a tour just going across country. It's similar. So Kirk comes out, starts off the show by having Dave guess which president predicted the United States will have a man on the moon. Kind of shocking that the first president that came out of his mouth was Ronald Reagan. But U.S. history, Davis said, is not his strong point, so we'll give him that. I bet he was a math guy. But so Minifans across America. So what it is it's there's no getting around it. I mean, going to Madawaska was one thing, going to Magnolia was another thing. This trek of going from Madawaska, Maine, all the way to the westernmost point of the United States in Washington State, to have a Minifan in bits and pieces, different Minifan, but to have Minifans walk from one point to the other is quite the task, and it's certainly, I think it's the most daunting task yet. Andrew, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it was. I was completely wrong with Minahan Woodstock Fest type thing. So this was actually, I think, a lot cooler. Definitely a unique idea and something that you haven't heard of really any podcast or anyone in this realm doing. So the creativity of that, and I think this is another chance to show how rabid Minifans are, because I'm fairly confident that we can make this happen if we get enough people to put our minds to it. I mean, we've had one guy walk from Rhode Island up to the VFW.
Yep.
We've had Adam in Jersey. He walked all the way back from the Wilbur. So it's,
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't to put Adam in Jersey walking 8 miles in Boston in the same realm as from Providence.
Is obviously a lot more impressive, but still 8 miles. Like, you've seen the Minifans. I mean, as Dave even tweeted out today, there's some of you that he's laughing at 10 miles for. So
yes,
I'm confident that this is going to get done.
So Dave put together a Google document that people can. It's on the Kirk Minahan at KirkVin Show on Twitter, that people can sign up. Put their name. There's been some confusion because in one of the questions it's run/walk location, and a couple people have put walk or run, but we're trying to look for the location of which you'd be willing to partake in. We've gotten a lot of people in the Northeast. So far, there's been 160 signups, which is great. A lot in the Northeast. We do have more than you would think in the Midwest, kind of in the Minnesota, Dakota region. So I definitely am more hopeful for this, or the prospects of it are greater than when it was first announced. When it first announced, I think to myself, like, who the hell are we going to get to walk across Montana? But I have seen a couple names thrown in there. But yeah, so far there's been 160 signups. I'm going to talk with Dave where I want to get like a website made that's like, it can be like minifansacrossamerica.com, that because there are a lot of the viewership and podcast listeners don't go on Twitter. So I think that if we can get like some sort of website just made up that links directly to that, where people who don't interact with the show on Twitter and just listen to the show, perhaps there's a couple of people in Montana or Washington State that will be able to jump in. But then there's also been a couple of signups where it's like Myrtle Beach, and it's like, I don't think we're going to Myrtle Beach, but
I will make a recommendation that as you're going across the country, when you're going through Minnesota, if it can get on your route, Austin, Minnesota is a place you have to go. It is home. It is home to the Spam Museum.
Okay, that's why.
That's why. It's, if you like Spam, that's a clear cut go through, and I have a feeling there's a lot of Minifans that like Spam.
Well, I'm not sure. Well, it's up to Kirk where the
Yeah.
stops are and things like that. I'm not sure Kirk's a big spam guy. He doesn't
Oh
doesn't
no, he
strike
doesn't.
me doesn't
But
strike me
this
as a
would be
big
one of those
spam
cars.
man.
You,
But
you, I only know that because I've driven across the country and I made a stop there out of having to go to the bathroom and stumbled upon it.
oh well, that's very nice. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this comes along. I do have a big map. I don't know if people remember from Madawaska One. There was a giant map at Big Rick's of America where people like sign their names. So I do have that I'm going to be bringing to studio. We can kind of map out where people have said, what states they're able to do. But I do think also this is just going to take a long time. I think 1 month, 60 days is on the good side. I think 60 days of having someone walk across America, and I know that some people are going to run, but I think the majority of people will be walking in short little like 5 or 6 mile divots at the time. But the other thing me and Dave have to kind of get together and figure out is how this is going to be live streamed or how this is going to be legitimate, and so that we know that it's going to be that people can't just cheat and just drive 30 miles and then say they walk it over the course of 10 miles. So we'll be figuring that out over these next couple of weeks, trying to get all the logistics together and everything like that. But I will say, it was great to hear a couple of the Minifans call in and really like support. Shout out Cameron from Tri-State Running. He's already talking about sponsoring the whole thing, getting people who are doing this set up with, getting them a discount on sneakers and good running gear and things of that nature. So it's quite exciting. And to have, when Kirk says that he wants to do a couple live shows throughout the trek there, it's going to just make for great content.
Yeah, and I think just when you watch it along, like one of the things, one of the callers came in with like that GPS tracker idea. I think that's great to have something that Minifans can follow, even too. To like you get into it, cheering it on. So it's I'm excited to see it come up. I know I threw my name in there, and I think I said Mass, but I can go up if it's on a weekend up in the Northeast. And I think I said 5. I could probably push myself to 10 miles, unless Colin A
10
wants to
miles.
laugh. I can do 10
Yeah,
miles. I'm
yeah,
confident
we'll
I can do
see.
that.
I will say, like, I think there's been, like I said, 160 people signing up so far. It's about like a 3,300 mile trek, so it's gonna be tough. I wouldn't be surprised, but there have been some things where people are like, I'll fucking travel, I'll take vacation, I'll take a week's vacation, and I'll just do like 10 miles a day for a week. And I was like, I'm gonna do that. That's incredible. So we'll see. We'll see. I think there's going to be some big shiny, some Minifans that really come out of this looking great once we get this all figured out, and everything like that. And Kirk tweeted out he's looking for Dale Bear. That's something that we would be great if we can find the original Dale Bear. I saw Tim Ridgels tweeted out that he has a Dale Bear. I'm not sure if it's the Dale Bear. I know that Dale Bear kind of became a popular thing for a little bit there with people going to the CVS and buying them. But I think Kirk did sell the original Dale Bear to a Minifan at the VFW for like $2,000 or $3,000 or something like that. But he would be the perfect Olympic torch. I don't know if you have any other ideas for Olympic torches.
No, the Dale Bear, when Mike came up with that, I was like, yep, that's perfect for it. I mean, the cross would be funny, but then it would be a literal come to Jesus moment, dragging that thing across the country.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, the cross, and I know the cross was made great by Dave Callahan. He made it very sturdy. I'm not sure it could be dragged 3,300 miles through
No.
weather, through being I mean, the thing does what it is front load, back loaded. It does want to tip over. So I mean, it would be kind of something. But I don't know. Maybe we get some sort of a mini cross or something like that. But Kirk also said on Twitter, um, bonus show tomorrow morning at 9 over on the YouTube. And I'm not entirely sure if it's going to be released as a podcast, that's because it's a bonus. But bonus show. I'm assuming it's just going to be talking about this, kind of going over the nuts and bolts of this and hammering it out and everything like that.
Yeah, it's exciting to always hear. So I'm excited to see what comes of it. That's for sure. It's whenever we get a bonus episode, like I get it's more Kirk content. That's great.
Of course. Yeah, hopefully, the Minifans will step up and get to 70,000 pay-per-view buys, and Kirk gets to meet Bruce, and these bonus shows will become a regular thing from September, October, November. But we shall see with that. So let's get into my stuff. So at some point today during the show, Kirk said Justin won't be here. He's planning on leaving us. He'll be gone by Labor Day. And Dave slips out. He goes, "Yeah, there might be some truth to that." And Kirk's like, "Well, what do you mean?" And I was like, "Oh, geez, this was not how I wanted this to be brought up." So I need a full-time job. I did a terrible job of trying to pitch myself today. It was not great. We'll see how I do if it's brought up tomorrow, or I'm sure it will be brought up Thursday, where hopefully I do a better job of pitching myself. But it was just tough. I mean, it was just I wasn't expecting it. And like I said, when I get stressed, I just get quiet. So I know Dave said like something was on my mind and stuff like that, but I was just stressed trying to map out the route from Madawaska to Washington. Doing that, I just get quiet. So I did a completely terrible job. I know at one point Kirk was like, "Do you think you should have a full-time job?" And I pretty much just said no, but it's just the
Not pretty much.
reality.
You flat
You
out
know,
said.
I did, and I mean, shout out. I mean, Dave. 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 I love the man. He had my back, and he pitched more for me than a trillion times more than I did myself. But it's just it was just a bad look for me, and we'll see where this goes. But I know Kirk said I kind of killed the mood in the room. That certainly wasn't my intention. But we'll see what comes of that. I don't know what were your thoughts listening to it today.
Listening back to it, it's like I was getting mad at you, and I think there was a lot of people were doing it because like Dave's trying so hard to get on your back, and I know what you're doing when you want to just be honest, like no, this isn't a full-time job and this and that. But as Dave said, there's something building here. It's been building for 3 years, and it's getting more and more. I think on. So I think there's going to be, if we can have better camera angles, even though Kirk doesn't give two shits about it, it's still going to look good, and I think the Minifans would appreciate it that much more, and it would drive that much more content. I think you're seeing now, like with Kirk with the mini golf, another thing, and that I think can really take off, and that can even be added into more of your plays. Because listening to that and listening to Dave fight for you, you're more valuable to Barstool than Chris Clemmer is, and I think
I guess. I mean, I'm not trying. I don't want to compare myself to Chris Clemmer. I mean,
I understand.
I see things online where people are saying, if Chris gets a job at Barstool, there's no reason why Justin shouldn't. And that's just, it should not be an either or situation. It should not be a this happened. It should be, do I deserve a job with the Kirk Minahan show? And is Kirk, willing to, or does Kirk think I deserve a job with the Kirk Minahan show? That's really the only thing that matters. It really doesn't matter. I'm sure Kirk could hire whoever when it comes to Barstool, and they just let him hire because it all comes out of his end and everything like that.
But even listening to Kirk today, he wants you around, it sounds like. And it sounds like that there is some potential for it. So I think it was one of those situations that there was like a lot of people like trying to be like, Justin, like, let's get excited about it. And I understand the stress factor from it, and you just kind of going down that way.
Yeah. So we'll see how it's brought up. I think I did a terrible job. I know my pitch in, what was it, June of last year, or maybe it was May of last year, was not great. Yeah, this was terrible. It was like off the cuff. As soon as Dave said like, well, that might be true come, Labor Day, it was rough. But Mike had my back. I do think he had a funny line where I was talking about it, and he's like, wait, you get health insurance? Because I just think it shows that I'm not sure exactly what kind of deal Mike had with Barstool when he worked there. I know it was kind of before they were bought out by Penn, and things like that. But we'll see what comes of it. I love the show more than anything. I want to stay with the show. It's fantastic, and we'll hopefully things work themselves out. Hopefully, I find a spot. I do. Kirk said, because one of the options I talked with Dave with is me staying with the show in a part-time capacity getting paid like a part-time, but getting benefits through the show. And Kirk said today, he's like, no, if you're like full-time, you're full-time. You're not going to be fucking selling hot dogs on the weekend. He's like, I think his exact quote was, if we got nothing going on, sure, dude, I don't give a shit. But like, you're not going to be prioritizing other things above the show, and which is what I told. This is why I told Dave that months ago that this was a possibility, because I if I get a full-time job somewhere else, I would have to prioritize that over the show. I couldn't be going into the show from like 9 to 11 a couple days a week, just because it's just how it is. But we'll see what comes of it. I got about a month to figure this all out. I got a lot of people DMing me telling me, I can go on Obamacare or something of that nature, but we'll figure that all out. So that's anything else to say about?
I think the best thing for you is just to team up with Dave, and like I think talking with you two together, you guys could come up with like a solid plan that would make this a full-time job. And part of what it's going to be for you is as someone who also works in social media, it's a 9 to 5, but I'm not off it. It's 10 o'clock and I'm still looking at stuff. So it's there is 40 hours of work for you on the show. I think there is, and because I think we have a whole YouTube channel that can be part of it too. Like they were hinting at today too. Yeah. And I can guarantee you there's a lot of people out there that would want to do the content if there could be a schedule that you could be in charge of and run. There's plenty of opportunities, I feel.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll talk about it more, I'm sure, on Thursday. If tomorrow's episode is going to be more about the bonus episode is going to be more about the Minifan across America thing. We'll talk more about it on Thursday. A couple other things from today's show. Jerry was on Fox News. It was, I don't know. It's very funny. It's very funny to see just Jerry interact, and this is Jerry's like Christmas. Him go on Fox News, and it might have been. I think I read somewhere that Jerry tweeted out it was the biggest like ratings bump or something.
Something like that.
Let me see.
Was it the?
It was So he retweeted something that said, "Congrats to @WillKane, guest host of Tucker Carlson Tonight on Monday. Most watched in all of cable and network prime time. 4.3 million. Number 2 show on all of cable news in 18 to 49 and 25 to 54 demos." Which is just like,
it's all because of Jerry Callahan. Come on.
And Jerry retweeted that and said, "I just want to thank God and Will Kane. We kicked ass." I want to give Jerry the benefit of the doubt and saying he's like ribbing himself there, kind of like trying to take, like, to say like we kicked ass. I want to say he's not so outside of the joke that he's taking credit for why Tucker Carlson Tonight was the #1 viewed show on cable news last night. But
he talked about it.
It had nothing to do with him. It had nothing to do with Will Kane. What it had to do with the Trump, Mar-a-Lago being raided by the FBI, and the right wanted to see, what comes of that. So that's why they tuned in with that. But it was but yeah, it's just funny to see him just on just whenever he just interacts with like his, I don't want to call them heroes, but kind of like people he looks up to, the Will Kanes, the Tuckers, the
where he wishes he could be.
Yes, and I'm dying to hear what his take on the Massachusetts allowing the kids to be high is, because I felt like he would have had some hot takes on that. Where was his where's his tweet on that? And I did look up how many Twitter followers he gained today, and I think it was okay. Yeah, so here's his tweet: "It's happening. Tucker's out, but I'm in with the great Will Kane. We'll be talking about why the Mass legislator is proposing for all the kids who's struggling post-COVID with isolation and depression. Weed. What could go wrong? Tune in." I don't know. I just think it's very funny for Jerry just to play the hits and just I feel like the only reason he was brought on was because it was a Massachusetts legislator, and they probably have a list of Massachusetts people, and they just kind of came to him.
Well, he had Massachusetts radio host, very specific. It was great for Mr. Callahan. He got his 3 or 4, but yeah, I'll admit it. When I saw it come up, I'm like, I have to watch this, and I lasted for about 2 minutes, and I was like, all right, I'm good. It's the typical Jerry Callahan thing, but he knows his crowd and he's playing to it. That you got to give him credit for that.
Yeah. So we'll I don't know. And then apparently I fucked up with Will Kane, going through who he follows. Apparently I looked up people who were following him. I thought it was people that he was following, because there was like Big Cat. There was a couple big names on there, but I guess I looked it up, and Kirk called me a fucking idiot today on Twitter, because the great Ziggy Robinson, investigative reporter, kind of outed that it was not people who Will Kane is following; it's followers of Will Kane. So
yeah, I noticed that tweet, and I was like, yeah, Ziggy's gonna Ziggy. Just always know that.
Ziggy's gonna fucking Ziggy, all right. Anything else from today's show that kind of stuck out to you?
I mean, I'm happy for Kirk that Dave secured one of the locks with Kevin O'Leary. So,
oh yeah, that's exciting. That's very exciting. What he said, it's going to be the end of the month.
It's the same day I close on the house, so it's going to be the best day of my life, because I get to eventually hear Kirk talk to Kevin O'Leary.
Yeah, to Kevin O'Leary. That should be good. I mean, Kirk's like obsessed with Shark Tank right now for the past month, ever since him and Carrie went on that baseball excursion where they stayed in a couple hotel rooms. Shark Tank is such a great hotel room show. It really is. It's up there with like
hours. I've killed hours before on work trips.
It's up there with I think Shark Tank is 1A, and then 1B is like Live PD or Cops. I think those are the two best. Like I've stayed in plenty of hotel rooms, doing monster jams, and it's just perfect. But Kevin O'Leary is a big get. It's too bad that it's not in person. I think that would be great to kind of have Kevin O'Leary go through the studio and sit down with Kirk in person. But yeah, that should be.
As Dave said, he'll be coming back to Boston, so there could always be that second one. And plus, you guys should be in a new studio by the time he's in Boston, because that August 31st deadline is coming.
That's right, it is coming. So we'll see about that. A couple other things. Olivia Newton-John died, and Kirk makes a good point when he talks about, like, Olivia Newton-John dies, and the first person he thinks of isn't like, oh my God, her family, or I'm sure she had a husband or kids or sisters or brothers. Because she died, relatively like young. I think she was 73 or something like that. He's like, oh, I wonder how John Travolta feels, and that's such like it's probably like in the same, like when a normal person dies, you're like, oof, I wonder how their friend from 5th grade feels, or something like that. But it is true. We develop these relationships in our heads with celebrities that just don't exist. I did see a picture. Apparently her and John Travolta would like remake that picture from Grease of them like in a car together every couple of years, and people would go crazy about that. That was something though.
Yeah, it's one of those, and the perfect example would be like if Dave died, my first thought wouldn't be his family. It'd be like, oh, how's like what? I wonder like how that's going to affect Kirk. Like it's kind of one of those things that it's just a situation that you don't know them on a personal level, so you only know them by the relationships you develop.
Yeah, and I guess you really don't think of them like you think of them as human, but like your instinct is to think of them as a celebrity.
Yeah.
It was quickly brought up on today's show. The PMT boys had Aaron Rodgers on, and they had a couple. I did listen to it. They had a couple good like jabs at Aaron. I know Big Cat gave him like some whiskey or whatever, and in it he had like a photo of like Shane McClellan tackling him where he broke his collarbone. And for the most part, like, Aaron Rodgers played with him. Big Cat, always has the thing on Twitter talking about going to jail and things like that. But I did not see the COVID thing. I did not see the clip of COVID asking how many people do you think he killed, and then Big Cat goes, just how many grandmothers, and you could tell like that's when playful Aaron kind of went to rest, and he was like, I don't find that funny, because I'm sure it's something that he's seen or I'm sure it's something that he's seen people say to him multiple occasions. I'm sure it's ruined relationships he's had with people, and
he's known for
like
ruining
publicists.
relationships.
Yeah. So
But I think the guys on the show said it best. He can't win playing along there. There's
yes.
from a PR standpoint, there's no win for him.
Yes, if he plays
So
along, then the people who hate him, the Julie DeCaros of the world, are saying like, "Oh my God, Aaron Rodgers laughs in the face of my dead grandmother," and things of
exactly.
that nature.
You
But
don't
it
need
was,
that bullshit. But I did like Big Cat's line, "Oh no, we seen it," which gave me a huge chuckle.
yes. So that was good, and good on Kirk for bringing that up. Anything else from today's show that kind of
Not
stuck out?
really. Just I was just gonna ask Blind Mike if he's gonna have the famous comedian Big Cat on anytime soon to talk about his career.
Oh yes, yes, that would be the life and the trials of Big Cat all the way up from Newton.
I was gonna say Newton's finest.
Yeah, from Newton to Chicago for a couple of years, back to Boston, then New York City, but Chicago's finest.
Do you think that like for this Minifans across America, like could we see? I know he hates Kirk, but could we see Eddie pop up during said walk? You think you're going to see any buy-in?
I think if the trek does go through Chicago, I definitely could see, especially I could see this becoming a big thing that gets talked about on like Portnoy's show, things like that. I could definitely see the Chicago boys kind of sticking their head in there and
Yeah,
helping out.
I think it'd be cool to see if like I mean even getting Big Cat to walk a little bit, I think would be funny. So there's I think a part of I think this is something that could grow in that people who like Rico Bosco, another perfect example. I
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
but see, the thing is, like they would be great to do like 5 or 6 miles, but it would just be difficult, especially during football season,
Well,
where
yeah,
that's kind of where they're on. I don't know if Big Cat's able to just fly out to Chicago,
he can
to
gamble
walk.
there now.
He
He
can,
can
yeah. Well, he
gamble.
can, yeah. So we'll see, we'll
Hopefully, he'll
see.
be able to gamble here.
Yeah, hopefully soon. But okie dokie. Thank you, Andrew, for joining me today. Thank you to Kirk. Thank you to Dave. Thank you to Mike for a great show. And we will talk to you. Let's see the comments. Poo poo pee pee. Obamacare, bro. The Facebook group is popping over this. It's good to see that. And we will talk to you tomorrow on the bonus episode. Bye.